When I look at winter cruises or summer breaks in the United States, I look to the Caribbean. Normally, you are offered two itinerary choices, the Eastern Caribbean or the Western Caribbean. I do have my favorite, but what is yours? Let's explore today on See More Seas. Both the Eastern Caribbean and the Western Caribbean cruise itineraries have distinct differences and advantages. The Eastern has its culture, history, and those beautiful sandy beaches. The Western has its jungles and its snorkeling and diving in crystal clear Caribbean waters. Today, we're going to take a look at both of these so that you can make the decision that's right for you. Hi everyone and welcome. If you are new here, I am Doug and this is See More Seas, your cruise tips and planning channel where I hope to help you and your family pick, plan, and enjoy your next cruise vacation. If you find the video helpful in any way, as always, please do give it that thumbs up and consider subscribing to the channel if you've not done so already. Thanks so much and let's get started. These two destinations are very popular and favorites of the cruise industry in the United States. The Caribbean is accessible by most of the ports in the United States, including those in Florida, which are Jacksonville, Port Canaveral, Palm Beach, Port Everglades, Port Miami, and Tampa. This is also true of the ports in the Gulf, which include Mobile, Galveston, New Orleans, and even up the East Coast in the Northeast from New York City as well as Baltimore. Those Gulf ports obviously favor the Western Caribbean itineraries, but not always. And then the East Coast obviously favors the Eastern Caribbean, but many times the cruise lines will alternate those between Eastern and Western, so a back-to-back option is very popular. Popular ports in a Western Caribbean itinerary, those leaving from the East Coast, will probably either start or finish in the Bahamas, say Nassau or one of the many private islands of the cruise lines. Key West is also a destination for a Western Caribbean cruise from the East Coast, and then the other popular ports would be the Mexican ports such as Cozumel or Costa Maya. Then you have Belize City in Belize, Roatan, Honduras, Grand Cayman in the Cayman Islands, and then a few places in Jamaica like Ocho Rios, Falmouth, and even Kingston. Royal Caribbean and Celebrity also stop at Labadee, Haiti, which is a private destination for the Royal Caribbean Group. Eastern Caribbean ports would include, again, the Bahamas, which would be Nassau, even Bimini, and again, the private islands owned by the cruise lines. You also have Grand Turk in the Turks and Caicos, then San Juan, Puerto Rico, the Dominican Republic, as well as then the British Virgin Islands, the U.S. Virgin Islands of St. Thomas, and then you have St. Martin, St. Kitts, and even St. Croix. Any further south islands in the Virgin Islands normally begins a Southern Caribbean itinerary, which is normally out of South Florida or even San Juan, and will include also Curacao and Aruba. Let's begin now to compare the two itineraries and focus in on a few of the highlights that you can expect from each type of itinerary. For a Western Caribbean, you are going to have, for history and culture, you're going to focus in a lot on the Mayan people, the Mayan culture. Throughout all of the stops along Mexico and the Yucatan Peninsula, you're going to have lots of opportunities to go and see the Mayan ruins, learn a lot about the history of the people and what fantastic history there is. We've gone to a number of those destinations, and even some of the newer ports have this as a motif of the ports that they've built. In Jamaica, you're going to focus in on the cuisine, all of the outdoor activities, some of the greatest excursions that we've had have been on a Western Caribbean cruise in Jamaica, such as horseback riding or the ATV tours that we've taken. There's Dunn's River Falls, which is an absolutely very popular location for most Jamaican stops. The Western Caribbean is also going to excel in water sports. The water is fantastic for snorkeling and diving, especially in Grand Cayman and in the Cayman Islands. Then you also have wonderful opportunities in the Mexico waters for diving, snorkeling, and even fishing. When visiting Key West and the Florida Keys, you're going to have opportunities for all of those water sports, including the coral reefs, the fishing, as well as various levels of water sports and sailing. One of the best excursions that we have ever experienced from any cruise was actually on a Western Caribbean itinerary in Cozumel. It was at the Dolphin Discovery area for a Swimming with the Dolphins encounter. This was a small group VIP through Celebrity Cruise Lines, and it included the Swimming with the Dolphins, manatees, as well as a sea lion show and a private lunch. This was an exceptional compound, and I believe one of the best dolphin compounds in either the Eastern or the Western Caribbean. So if you're looking to do that, Cozumel is an excellent place to experience a dolphin swim. And now for the Eastern Caribbean. You're going to have a lot of different historical and cultural influences in the Eastern itineraries. These are going to include things such as a strong Spanish influence with all of the old Spanish fortresses. You're going to have the French and the Dutch in the St. Martin and surrounding islands. The British Virgin Islands also will have a lot of influence from the English settlements, as well as some African influences. And then, of course, you have the beautiful culture and people of Puerto Rico and all of the Cuban influences that you're going to see throughout the entire region. And for those beachgoers, the beaches in the Eastern Caribbean are some of the best in the world. You have famous Megan's Bay in St. Thomas, and there are a number of different opportunities in and around St. Martin. Both the French and the Dutch side have absolutely fantastic resort beach areas to visit for a day pass. For the water sports enthusiasts, there are tons of opportunities for snorkeling with a lot of smaller but beautiful coral reefs. You have boating opportunities with lots of catamarans, and even in St. Martin, you have the big ship Mercedes, which you really do need to experience if you get the opportunity. Some of the best excursions that we've had on Eastern Caribbean would be ziplining in St. Martin and even a mountain biking tour in St. Martin that finished on one of the very popular, beautiful beaches. San Juan has the opportunity to walk and tour Old San Juan, including visiting the U.S. National Park Service, fortresses of El Morro, as well as San Cristobal. Both of those locations are a must-see when visiting San Juan. So which one is right for you, an Eastern or a Western Caribbean itinerary? Well, let's take a look at all of the major ports in the Caribbean. As you can see, there are a number of home as well as destination ports in the Caribbean to choose from. They are pretty much split even between Eastern and Western. Here is a list of all of the Caribbean ports which we have actually visited, some of them several times. Let's take a look first at the Western Caribbean. We normally would leave from Fort Lauderdale, Port Everglades, or Port Miami and make our way down to Key West, Cozumel, Costa Maya, Belize, Roatan, Grand Cayman, or the various stops in Jamaica or possibly Haiti. So that's pretty much the West. And of those ports, I would say the best ports for us that we remember the most is number 1, Key West. Cozumel can be fun. However, most times if you take a lot of Western itineraries, you're going to stop there, and it is pretty touristy. Grand Cayman is a beautiful spot. However, the downtown area is lacking a little bit, so I would definitely recommend an excursion there. I don't necessarily care for Costa Maya, Belize, or Roatan. However, if you're getting an excursion and getting into the historical or cultural areas of those locations, it can be a great experience. If we take a look at the Eastern Caribbean, you're going to have all of the different private islands. You're going to have the stop in San Juan. We love Old San Juan. St. Thomas is also one of our favorites. And then there are so many things to do in St. Martin. If you take that southern itinerary and go on to Dominica, St. Lucia, Barbados, and Aruba and Curacao, those are areas that would be yet a different itinerary. But for an Eastern, I really do believe that there is a lot to offer for an Eastern itinerary. You really can't go wrong by choosing an Eastern or a Western itinerary. And if you have the opportunity to do both in a back-to-back cruise, then that is a great compromise. I do think that the Eastern itineraries do have better beaches. It has beautiful individual islands, and it has a more diverse choice of cultures with all of those different influences in the variety of the islands. Now, a Western itinerary is going to have better diving and snorkeling and water sports. And they also have the amazing Mayan culture to explore in multiple ports. And of course, most Western itineraries also include stops in Key West, which is one of my all-time favorite spots. So which one am I going to recommend? Well, I think you've probably guessed by now that I personally favor an Eastern Caribbean itinerary. We feel that the individual islands in themselves is a little bit more attractive to us than what is seemingly stops in mainland locations for a Western Caribbean. We also enjoy the more diverse cultural components of the sailing rather than the beaches and the water sports and diving. Some of our favorite stops are on Eastern itineraries. We absolutely love San Juan, Puerto Rico, as well as St. Thomas and St. Martin. However, as I've stated, our honorable mention goes to the West with any stop in Key West. So let me know what your favorite ports are and whether you favor a Western or an Eastern itinerary. You may be interested in one of my other videos, my most favorite and least favorite Caribbean ports. I'll leave that link in the description below and at the end of this video. I hope you found this video helpful. If you did, please do give it that thumbs up and please subscribe to the channel if you have not done so already. It really does help the channel grow. I really appreciate you watching, and as always, I'll see you again soon.